everybody. It's Jakiva Phillips, your faithful host of ZSides. As always, the TV show that is based around WordlitZine, our local fiction and poetry magazine. Now today we have a very special treat for you. We're going to be talking to the delightful, the very funny, and the very stoic Richard Chiem.
Thank you so much for Jakiva and for ZSides for having me. I'm going to be reading from King of Joy, my debut novel, published by Soft Skull March earlier this year. There are moments Corvus can feel a shift happening. Where does all the good go? Michelle flicks her cigarette into heavy rain, waves goodbye, and leaves through the back door. Corvus can hear her mom's rusty truck pulling into the garage, and the engine dies. The headlights illuminate the carpet hairs from beneath the door, then black. Without knowing what possesses her to do so, Corvus quickly rushes to turn off all the lights and hides behind her curtains. Her hurried breathing brings her pulse pounding to her ears. When she tries to calm herself down, she says, "There is no center. There is no center," over and over again. There is no center ever. Her drenched mother stumbles in the front door with a strong wind, and little things flutter in the house. Magazine pages and open letters. A gigantic man, almost twice her mother's size, follows her in. He shuts the door gently behind him and whispers something into her ear. She says no, laughing. My daughter is asleep, and James is at the casino. She shakes her hips, swaying backwards, and hoarse voice says, "I'm all yours." "Keep your body still," the man says, locking the door behind him, and he touches the light switch. He says, "The lights are off." They take swigs from the flask chained to his belt. Corvus paces her breathing from the dark shadow of the curtain. She stands there like she is never leaving the curtain, like she has become part of the house, like she is changed forever. She watches her mother in the giant embrace and kiss before racing each other for the bedroom upstairs. Listening to their footsteps, it dawns on Corvus anew how horrible her mother is, how this keeps shocking her enough to care. Their moans fill the house, sounds bleeding through the thin walls, and Corvus remains stiff among the curtains. When she finally leaves the curtains, she walks to the ever-playing radio in her room, right at the moment the phone rings, just past midnight. My bloody Valentine. The kitten looks dead asleep in the space between her bed and the wall. The phone reads, "Papa." Corvus answers, "When are you coming home?" "What?" His voice is warbled. Corvus can hear slot machines in the background. A little louder, she says, "When are you coming home? You haven't even left the lobby." He takes his time, taking a drag from his cigarette, and watches anonymous women drift across the room, a sea of lights, bells, and chimes. Corvus says, "Papa." "I lost another 10,000, he says. His breaths are tense and measured. He says, "I think I'm going to die. I'm so stressed out, baby. Papa doesn't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do." Black markets, hired killers, orca whales. Idle times, little moments to herself, can drift her mind to strange, comforting places. Imagined worlds and perfect self-movies. If only Corvus could be an actor playing herself in a movie, she thinks. Perhaps then things would be more manageable. The terrain would be known. Life, all-encompassing, would be her choosing, her challenging role to play. It would all be just a game for real. Everything would be easier. Death would end the movie. Corvus, after hanging up the phone call with her father, lets the air eat at her from all over. There is a ringing in her ears, a buzzing on her skin. She says, "Me." Without packing a bag, she runs out the back door to Michelle's house. The door slams. The rain is freezing, but running down the middle of the road feels transformative. She feels more alive, more present. The air has a charge. The rain behind Corvus seems to be falling from all directions, endless droplets bouncing high from the dark pavement and parked cars. Michelle answers the door immediately. She can't see Corvus's eyes, can't tell she's happy or sad, crying or drenched. I thought you said you weren't coming to the party, says Michelle. Something fragile in her shakes from the breeze and the pleasant surprise. Just having Corvus there in front of her has always silently delighted Michelle, and she smiles and flashes every time Corvus makes her way back to her. Corvus is breathing hard, her face hidden inside her black hood. There is a mouth there. Smiling to her gums, Michelle says, "You said no cute boys, no party." Corvus asks, "Can I ask a huge favor?" "Of course." Corvus asks, "Can I bum a cigarette?" Michelle reaches for her back pockets, opens the door wider, and fishes for her lighter. The music, vibrating the walls inside, is hypnotic, so melodic. Boys in baseball caps and polo shirts walk up and down the hallways. Girls in baseball caps and high-top sneakers sit and smoke on the steps. Michelle hands Corvus her last cigarette. She asks, "Are you crying?" "No," Corvus says, shaking her head. "It's raining." Thank you so much.
Richard, hey! Thank you so much for being a part of ZSides.
Thanks for having me.
Much. I'm so happy that you're here. Tell everybody about your book that just came out.
Yeah, so thank you again for having me. Thank you to ZSides. I just had a novel come out called King of Joy. It was published by Soft Skull Press. It's about a woman named Corvus who is processing a journey of grief, which takes her through a underground porn studio in the woods, and the book ends in a very surreal hippo attack.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I like how you've built the intrigue there.
Yeah.
It ends with a surprise hippo attack.
It's a nice elevator pitch.
It is a really nice elevator pitch, actually. I was just thinking that. I was like, if I was like a big Hollywood producer and somebody said, it ends in a surprise hippo attack, I'd be like, I'm sold.
Yeah, they liked it, so I'm glad.
Yeah, well, I know that writing a book is really hard. I say that because I've been writing my own book for years.
Right.
And so tell me about the process. Tell me how it all kind of came together. What was the inspiration? How long did it take you? Give me the details.
Oh, thank you. Not to be like hyperbolic, but it's like it was one of the hardest things I did. I processed a lot of grief writing the book. I first started writing the book really randomly, actually. I started watching Harmony Korine's Spring Breakers, which has almost nothing to do with the novel. But because the film was so stylized, it kind of gave me permission to kind of do my own thing with this own book. It kind of taught me that style can kind of transcend form to become content. I'm very much a sentence by sentence writer, not really concerned with plot too much. So my biggest concern with writing pretty much my whole career so far is like, how do I make a good book for the reader, but also a manageable plot that the reader can gravitate towards. And once I saw Spring Breakers, the movie didn't make a lot of logical sense to me, but it made a lot of emotional sense. And once I had that, it kind of gave me full, liberated me to kind of write this own grief novel. So I started the first scene after watching Spring Breakers. And then once I knew I had my character Corvus, I knew that I had a book. And the hippo thing kind of came in a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another Harmony Korine inspiration.
Totally something different, actually, yeah.
Harmony Korine is definitely a style over sort of, I don't want to say substance, that's a little too harsh, but sort of style kind of transcends everything with Harmony Korine.
Right, the focus is a little different. So.
Are you like a movie buff?
Yeah, I worked at a movie theater for like 7 years.
Really? I did too.
Yeah, no
What
way.
high five. Yes, that was what I did in college. I worked at an independent movie theater.
Me too.
And I saw Ken Park for the first time, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked at like landmark theaters and like La Jolla for like 6, 7 years. I worked at the Egyptian here before it was a SIF for about a year. But yeah, huge movie geek.
Okay, so as a movie person, do you find it really hard to go to the movies now and like pay money for like tickets?
Definitely. I remember I used to just let friends in.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of people around the city, so we would just pop in. But I do miss I love going to a good movie theater.
Yeah.
It's different these days, though.
I kind of like quiet movie theaters too, like the like AMC and the Regal. Like they have those new like big fancy chairs, and it's like I'm not gonna lie, those big fancy chairs are super nice. But sometimes I'm like, I just kind of want a janky little movie theater where there's like 8 people in it. I want my like giant thing of popcorn that's like $2, and I just want to dive into a really good like.
I'm the
weird
same way.
movie.
There's something about being in those spaces that are really comforting and healing. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about the book. So you said that you started writing it while you were processing your own grief?
Yeah, I think I'm a generally pretty sad person, which I actually really enjoy. It gives me like pretty good perspective on like empathy and other folks around me. I learned, I guess around when I started writing, and when I was like probably going through like my biggest phases of like depression, that the weirdest books or like the most surreal books or just like the weird books were the ones that kind of like, I'm not sure if they made me better, but after reading those books, I did feel like I was able to cope. So I wanted to kind of create something that would feed into that kind of river of thought. Readers that have read the book have often told me that they were surprised what they got out of the book. It is a depressing book, but I try to make it not necessarily entertaining, because I don't think that's the point, but to, again, like have some kind of gravity, or not necessarily comfort for the reader, but something for the reader to relate to, some kind of truth. Okay. And that's like my main goal with King of Joy, the novel, was to kind of provide that weird surreal bent for how we cope with things. I
definitely appreciate you saying it doesn't have to be, you know, entertaining per se. There aren't any car chases, or well, maybe there are, I don't know. But more you're just trying to tell this person's story. You're trying to go on this journey. And maybe that's you being a sentence by sentence writer yourself, right? Like you don't think about like the giant plot twists of this happens and that leads to this twist. You're kind of plodding along as you go, and maybe that also kind of influences it, would you say?
Definitely, and to me it's also about like accessibility with the prose. Like one of my favorite writers, her name is Dodie Bellamy, and she's a very experimental feminist writer, and she talks a lot about the kind of the folks she like not grew up with, but her contemporaries. The writing is usually really academic, very smart, but sometimes there's a layer of accessibility there. And she always has a concern about, she has class concerns, but other concerns with the writing, mainly with like accessibility. Essentially, she wants to come off as smart, we all do, but she also wants, you know, any reader to be able to like pick up her prose and read it. I actually believe there's no such thing as like high or lowbrow art.
Really?
Yeah, I think like if you really resonate with something, why reference like Mozart in your work if you don't listen to Mozart? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I reference music I actually listen to in like my novels. And I still think it's important for readers to kind of understand that too. And that's another thing I was going with the novel, is to have it be accessible, but dealing with very serious issues and matters, which is very important to me, just to making sure like the reader is able to grasp the book.
I think it's going to be really interesting in about 15 years or so in terms of like English classes and like what they start teaching as like classic literature, because I'm kind of with you on that. Like I think it's not accessible. Like, I mean, I really like Hemingway, like one of the first novels I ever read that was like, yeah, like I really got me excited about writing was The Sun Also Rises. But I also recognize that there are a lot of people in that class that were just like,
bored.
Yeah, it was boring. I don't get it. Who is this dude? Why do I care? You know, the same thing with Moby Dick. Like Moby Dick's a good book, but like there's so much whale talk, and if you don't care about whales, that's like hundreds of pages of whale BS to get
Moby
through.
Dick, yeah, so much whale talk.
Yeah, like, oh God. I mean, it'd be cool if there's actual whale talk.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, and so it's nice to have, more accessible books being written, people writing their truth and their stories.
Their narratives.
Yeah, exactly. And when you were saying that, it made me think of Junot Diaz when he wrote like Brief and Wondrous Life, or his short fiction collection Drown. Like that was one of the first collections. Drown was the first collection that I ever read that I was like, man, he's just like a dude, just like living, and like this is his life.
Yeah.
And it definitely struck me as something new and something very relatable in a way that like Hemingway or Fitzgerald or Virginia Woolf or all these other classic literature that we read doesn't anymore.
Right.
And I love how the new generation of writers are being like, I'm not going to pretend to write something different. I'm not going to try to emulate this classic literature. I'm just going to kind of write my life,
Yeah, you got to do you.
So what else is going on with you? So you have your book that's out. Are you going on tour? Are you in the middle of writing something else? Like Dish, what's going on?
I was on tour for, when the book came out in March, I went like I think I was at New York, LA, San Francisco. It was like such an incredible experience. It was like my first ever book tour.
What was your favorite city to read in?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I have to say all of them were kind of delightful because I had different pockets of friends and different readers and fans in different cities. And most of the readings were pretty well attended. But I think my favorite one was, I read the Franklin Park reading series in Brooklyn. They've been going on 10 years. I think we read during the 10-year anniversary reading. And yeah, it was a packed crowd. I've admired that reading series from afar for a few years. So it's great to kind of like, that's like my favorite part about being a writer is when you get to geek out about little things that no one else would know that would be a special achievement for you. Like, oh, you got to read at this weird reading series. I'm like, yeah, I did. And like, I've always wanted to. But that was just great just because on top of all the reading stuff, all the tour stuff, all the writing stuff, I really like to connect with folks on a human level. So it's great to like talk to my friends there that I've never met before that were readers of mine. And I think it's been my favorite part so far is getting to know the readers intimately, or face to face.
Did you just talk to them like at a book signing, or did you guys kind of go to the bar and like really like hash it out and chat?
A little bit of both. I kind of made sure during the tour I was kind of open up for that. I'm a heavily introverted person, so I was trying to make sure I can like party. But other than that, I've been working. I'm working on 2 books now. Working on a book of short stories called Mess You Up, and another novel called Cave Me In.
When can we expect these books, or are they in their infancy stages right now?
Oh, they're not quite infancy, but probably another 2 years at least.
Okay, so they're kind of in their toddler phase. They're up and doing stuff.
Yeah, learning how to drive, but maybe they shouldn't drive. Definitely should not drive yet, but yeah.
So what's your inspiration for your short fiction collection?
I just wanted stories that felt staggering or slightly one of my favorite books is called Taking Care by Joy Williams. I've kind of been modeling that after that short story collection. But also like things like recent phenomena like Black Mirror with like Netflix and shows of those nature where they're more episodic little narratives. I'm very interested in that. But a little bit of both, mainly inspired by Joy Williams, but other little like films too.
Cool. And Cave Me In, is it a similar thing that's inspiring you or something else?
That is going to be a revenge novel, starring, or not starring, but my 2 characters, they're called Chloe Battles and Sarah Cush. And it's mainly about Sarah Cush and it's her revenge story.
I don't know, revenge stories are always good, especially like when you can kind of peel back the onion and see what, caused them to want to seek the revenge.
Yeah, they're incredibly moral stories.
So you've also recently been dubbed LA Times top 11 notable writers. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, earlier this year. It was sweet.
Well, good for your bad self. How was that? Did they just call you up? Like?
Oh no, it was just an article that came out. It was really sweet of them.
Yeah? How did you find out about it?
I think Twitter.
Really?
Yeah, I woke up one day and I saw it on Twitter. I'm like, whoa. That was really sweet. Yeah, I knew the book, Michael Schwab. I've been a fan of his book reviews for a while, and I noticed that he was sweet enough, and I was so honored that he highlighted me, and in our press soft school.
That's good. I'm so happy for you. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've been really grateful this year for the book.
So out of all the things that you've done, all the amazing book tours, the places you read in that were great, being dubbed top 11, writers to notable writers, what would you say is sort of the greatest thing to happen to you? Was it reading in Brooklyn, or was it something else?
Although the Brooklyn thing has been amazing, and I met a lot of incredible writers along the way, and a lot of great friends along the way, I think still I would never get over the fact that I sometimes have random readers that would DM me or send me an email, really short usually, but it's usually a complete stranger, usually in a state that I would not assume that my book is being read there, and they reach out to me and saying, "Hey, I read your book, it did X, Y, Z for me." That will always be the best thing ever. Just knowing you have readers and that you wrote something that did something. I can never get over that. It's kind of one of the reasons why I love doing it so much.
So now's the part where we play a little game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, nerdy game or hidden talent.
Right.
But seeing as you are a busy bee, going on tour and everything, we didn't have time to get a quiz for you.
Right.
But we were chatting earlier about shoes, and so I think what I think would be fun is if you quizzed me, because I actually have a fair amount of shoe knowledge, I would think.
Sweet.
Or maybe just a fair amount of shoes. Who knows?
Both are great.
Yeah. I literally have a closet full of shoes, but I don't put them stacked up neatly. I just throw them all in there.
Oh, that's going to be a question of mine.
Yeah, was it? Because I used to have a rack of shoes.
Yeah.
I used to have a shoe rack, and then I kept buying more shoes than was on the rack. So now it's just a mountain of shoes.
Yep. Shoe begets more shoes.
Yeah,
for sure.
Kind of. We were talking about this earlier before we started filming, about different shoes for different occasions, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're with me on the same page, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, good. So what's your favorite kind of shoe to wear in any situation?
Well, I love being a sneakerhead just because I think it's another way to communicate, which is I'm sure you're incredibly fashionable.
Thank you.
But it's another way for you look at someone, it's another way to say hello.
Kinda, yeah.
In a very particular, because if you know kind of thing. I've definitely got head nods by other sneakerheads because the love is there. It's oh, I see you. And we're on a crowded bus, and there's just a little moment of intimacy where nice Jordan 1s or something like that.
Yeah. Jordan 1s, Air Force 1s, or?
No,
those are different.
Michael Jordan's first shoe, which is actually one of my favorite things to wear actually in Seattle because it's pretty, it's a leather shoe, so you can wear it in the rain. I like wearing Vans old schools because you can beat them up also in the rain. Seattle's very interesting because it rains a lot, and so you gotta watch what you wear, and sometimes your whole outfit's based on the shoe, right?
Yes. And these are the magical boots that fit this outfit.
They're great boots too.
Thank you. All right, so what's your dress-up shoe?
My dress-up shoe.
Yeah. We're like one of your couple dress-up shoes. Let's say you're going to a fancy-ish, environment, but you still want to keep it cash. You don't want to get wingtips or anything because you're a sneakerhead.
I have no fancy shoes. That's my big issue right now. I usually just probably show up in some kind of basketball sneaker and people just kind of deal with it.
Well, now that you're a writer, you just have to deal with it. That's your eccentricity.
Something like that. It's oh, he's creative. How many pairs do you think you own?
I would probably say legit.
Yeah. No shame. I'll tell you mine.
35.
That's
40?
good.
40,
good.
Somewhere in there.
At 42.
Yeah, 42.
Yeah.
Like Jackie Robinson.
I'm trying to downsize.
You're trying to downsize.
Try to get rid of stuff. Yeah. It got kind of wild after a while. But yeah.
All right. Okay. So quiz me on some shoe knowledge.
Sure. Do you know what shoe brand that Rihanna signed with?
Okay. What shoe brand did Rihanna sing with? I don't know why, but I want to say Reebok.
Almost. She signed with Puma.
Oh, okay.
Like the Puma the Fenties, and she's actually changed that brand. The moment she signed with them, it became almost $1 billion brand.
Like instantly?
Almost instantly, yeah.
Okay. All right, okay. Next one.
How about what shoe brand did Beyonce sign with? Actually, just kind of recently.
Ooh, I want to say Dolce & Gabbana just because I think she's classy.
That's a really good guess. She signed with Adidas, actually.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting because her husband, Jay-Z, is also signed with Puma. So there's like an interesting thing happening in that house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You think
Just
Jay-Z and Beyonce are just having shoe wars all the time? Like at the dinner table, they're just like, I got these. Okay, another question.
I guess what's your go-to shoe when it's raining?
My go-to shoe when it's raining?
Mm-hmm.
I have like these like furry, like black.
Go on.
I call them my like apocalypse boots because they look like they could be in like a post-apocalyptic like movie.
And they're furry?
Yeah, they're furry. They're furry on the inside, and then like the front is like suede, and then the black is like this leather thing that's going on.
Nice.
But the best part is that the shoe has like those little like grippers at the bottom. Like
Yeah.
it's not like a fancy smooth shoe. It's almost like a combat boot.
So you can actually walk around in them pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. I can
great.
walk around in those and be stylish, which is the goal.
Kill two birds, yeah.
Yeah, two birds with one stone.
Every step.
One fashionable stone. Okay, one more question. One more quiz because I want to get one right.
Let me think of another. So sorry, I'm such a basketball fan too. They're just going to be like really narrow knowledge. So Zion Williamson.
I feel like I'm learning a lot though. Like, okay, so I just learned like basketball. I just learned sneakerhead.
Yeah.
I'm feeling the sense that you're into hip hop. Did you like Space Jam? Because that's Bugs Bunny on your shirt.
I do like Space Jam.
Okay.
That's not why I wore the shirt.
Okay.
But yeah, Space Jam was cool, old school. Speaking of Space Jam, how about the last question is what shoe was Michael Jordan wearing in the movie Space Jam?
Was it Jordan 1s?
No, but very close.
Oh, was it Jordan 2s?
No,
Jordan 5s?
Jordan 11s.
Jordan 11s? What? He got all the way to 11
He got
at
11.
that point?
Yeah.
Boo. All right, I guess I'm batting 1,000.
That was good.
All right, so we learned about your projects.
Mm-hmm.
We learned about your book.
Mm-hmm.
Where can people buy your book, by the way?
It's pretty widely available everywhere. I would support your local indie booksellers.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I would support your local indie booksellers.
Oh, I've been saying that for 10s of episodes.
Especially, I would say quickly, LA Bay Books, Third Place Books, University Bookstore. There's so many great ones in Seattle, but yeah, support your independent booksellers, please.
And with that, we will leave you. Everybody, this is Richard Chiem. Again, you're at home, but you still should give him a round of applause. Yay! I'm your faithful host, as always, Jakiva Phillips, signing off, telling you to write, read, and buy some goddamn books. All right, bye.